Hello, Impromptu Live. I'm back on Why Wait Wednesdays, and we are in the middle of the Rise Up to Experience It All. And the doors are open right now for the fall cohort, and there are some one-on-one spots as well. And this is it for 2023. So now is the time, if you've been waiting or thinking or desiring that next level fulfillment, next level growth, next level expansion. That's what Rise Up stands for. Radical intentional self-expansion to unleash your unlimited potential. And so if anybody's joining me live on Instagram, this is being recorded for a podcast called Courageous and Free with Jacqueline Mack. So if you're joining that, just know any comments or questions, bring them in on the comments below. I love to hear where you're from, what's landing for you. I love the waving, the hearts emojis, all of it. Keep sending the love. But since I am recording this for a podcast, I will get to all of that at the end. And today is going to be very rapid fire, quick pace. You might want to save this once I save it to my grid here, because it's going to give you everything you need to know to unlock and understand self-led, what that means, what's required to be a self-led person or human, and leadership. So most of the people I work with are self-led leaders or are self-led or are in a leadership role, and they want to work on the other component because they know that will unlock, again, time freedom, money freedom, and greater fulfillment in their business and their life. So without further ado, today we're going to be jumping into the topic of self-led and leadership. Two concepts completely related and yet also very different. The distinct meanings and implications, as well as what it means when we're guiding and influencing others. So this will be a great one to jump in on if you are already a self-led individual or a leader looking to expand your self-led components in both business and life, and or the opposite, if you're already in a leadership role and you desire to sharpen or expand that self-led component. So what does it mean to be self-led? Self-led is really taking the initiative and responsibility for one's own actions, one's own decisions, and one's own desires, dreams, and goals. It involves a strong sense of self-awareness. It also requires self-discipline, and discipline, y'all, discipline equals freedom. If you have an unhealthy relationship with the word discipline, here's the time and day to relook at that and go back to why. Why do you have this weird feeling or meaning around the word discipline? Because discipline equals freedom. If you take a look at self-led individuals, they are very self-disciplined. They don't need someone to motivate them. They're self-motivated. They are a self-led individual that doesn't necessarily even stand in a formal leadership role, but demonstrates the qualities that are associated with effective leadership, such as setting personal goals, hitting those goals, experiencing those goals, managing their time very efficiently, and also making sure that the decisions that they are making, they're thinking logically and they're feeling intuitively. They're not just winging it or reacting. They're really responsible with how they respond. So that's one major key element when we're talking about self-led here. Self-led individuals are also proactive, very, very, one of those things that even before I even knew what self-led meant, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm very proactive. I'm not a very reactive person. This is why I'm not a physician. When I thought I was going to go to med school, I was like, whoa, wait, I'm signing up to learn a certain style of practice of medicine that is very tailored to being reactive with your health. That is not me at the core. I'm very proactive at the core. So these self-led individuals are proactive. They take charge of their own development, their own progress, which is huge as well. So let's talk about leadership. Let's switch this over real quick because I promised to touch on all of these. Leadership refers to the ability to guide, to inspire, to influence others. Again, leadership roles were ingrained into me from high school into college into corporate when I went into high ticket sales. You have to know how to guide, inspire, and influence others while supporting them in making a decision. That's really all sales is. So leadership roles have a common goal or vision with those they're leading, right? So when you're thinking about leadership, it involves a formal role or position with an organization or a group where the leader is responsible for directing, coordinating the efforts of the team. Effective leadership entails not only providing direction, but also fostering. This is the key. Embodying, fostering, displaying a positive and collaborative environment. People who are leaders typically work and play well with others, I'd like to say. So when you're creating that collaborative environment, you're empowering a team, you're making strategic decisions and managing the conflicts that will come up, the challenges. Leadership can take on various forms, such as there's the authoritarian, there's the collaborative, there's the inspirational, and there's the focused on serving others. So there's multiple facets I'm not going to go in on today, but this is where this is all coming from. Now, the key differences. This is what's really important to understand so that you know when you're in the self-led role or you're in your leadership role, or maybe you're in both because it's a yes and. You can have both. And honestly, I would encourage more people to activate and embody both of these, especially if you're a business owner, or especially if you really want to tap into self-mastery and share that with beyond just yourself and your closed circuit community, right? So here's the big difference. The first difference I want to talk about is the focus. We think about focusing in, lasering in on something. Self-led individuals primarily focus on their own personal growth and development and achievements. So they are working towards their own growth, development, achievements, whereas leaders focus on guiding and influencing a group of individuals towards a common goal or objective. Again, neither of these are right or wrong or good or bad. It's just what it is. So when you marry the two, self-led leader, this is like, boom, it's like the perfect situation, even though perfection doesn't exist, right? But ideally, you would have someone that's not only interested and motivated to grow and expand on their own and their own personal development while guiding and influencing groups of individuals towards a common goal. This becomes a win-win-win-win. This is a win for the individual, a win for the group, a win for those just outside the group, and then a win for those that the group serves. Like it's a never-ending generosity if you think about it, which is pretty cool, which is the way I like to look at it, at least. The second piece here is responsibility. I already hit on our responsibility to respond versus react, right? Good leaders, good self-led individuals, that's their responsibility, is to learn how to and when to respond. So self-led individuals take personal responsibility for their actions, decisions, and progress, or lack of any of that. They're not out there blaming or shaming anyone. They are like taking full ownership. This happened, great. This is how I'm going to move forward. This is how I'm going to prevent it from happening again. Or this happened, great, let's celebrate. And it happened once. Do I want it to happen again? Or do I want something bigger? Or is that good? I checked the box, it's done. Again, none of this is right or wrong, good or bad. It's just the awareness and the acknowledgement and deciding for self what feels good and what feels in alignment. Now, leaders take responsibility for guiding and directing the actions and progress of their team and organization. So at times, I don't know if you've ever been on a team before, and the team failed or they came across a challenge. It's usually the leader that will step up and be like, hey, I'm recognizing this. I'm taking ownership of this. I'm not blaming or shaming anyone or myself, but this is what happened. Now, how do we clean it up? And the beautiful part of this is it doesn't have to be over dramatic. Like there are really simple ways. Actually, I give that away in the Rise Up experience, is how to clean up messes or mistakes, because that's all they are. It's not who you are. It's just something that happened or we created, and it's okay. We can choose to change it again. Now, the scope of influence. This is pretty cool to think about. When you think about scope of influence for the self-led individual, they're individuals that are influenced primarily by themselves, setting examples for others through their actions. So they don't need external inspiration necessarily. They're self-activated, self-regulated to the point where they influence, and then they show up and they're leading by example because they're self-led. again, these are my ideal clients. These are the people I get to work with, and or help sharpen or activate their self-led components, right? Now, leaders influence a group of individuals. Not all leaders are self-led. You can learn leadership tactics and still not be self-led. But when you have both, it makes a beautiful combination. So leaders influence the group of individuals, driving them to work together and achieve shared objectives. Now, the position of, again, not all self-led individuals are leaders and not all leaders are self-led. So the leader behavior doesn't necessarily require a formal leadership position. It's about personal initiative and accountability. They don't need the outside accountability. They're self-motivated. They don't live off their willpower because they know it runs out every day at a certain time. It's just like time. We have only so many minutes in the day in our bank account. If we don't invest the minutes wisely, they're back at zero, right? We lay our head on our pillow and we know the next day we wake up, we're going to have that many more minutes again, and we get to choose proactively. That's self-led. Leaderships often involves a formal role with an organization or a group. So you can have a leadership position and not necessarily have to self-lead because the role or the position defines what you're leading for you. Or maybe you're designing or tweaking it along the way, but it's pretty much already mapped out. Now, lastly is the influence style. Self-led individuals inspire others through their dedication, their work ethic, and their personal growth, often indirectly, this is my favorite part, indirectly influencing those around you or around them, right? If you're a self-led individual, you're inspiring others through your own dedicated work ethic without any agenda, without any actual like intention, because you're already intentional with who you are and how you show up. How cool is that? Just because you're taking responsibility and ownership of who you are and how you show up with conscious intention, you're going to indirectly influence those around you. And it's usually going to be a like match energy. Woohoo, sign me up. Lastly, the influence style of leaders are usually various influence tactics. So there's an agenda, or there's a psychology behind it, or there's strategies to guide and motivate their team members directly. This is where like sports coaches will be trained to be leaders in a certain way, and to assess their team members a certain way to see what motivates them, because everybody is motivated a little differently or very similarly, but it's their job as the leader to figure that out, right? And so in summary, what this is all here to do is to give you permission to understand self-led and leadership as two different modalities that you get to have a yes and for. If you want to be a self-led leader, boom, that's the marriage of again, the most ideal situation. And again, this is all if you desire this, if it feels aligned to you, right? Because self-led individuals demonstrate leadership qualities on a personal level, focusing on their own, right, development, while other leaders or leadership positions involves a guiding and inspiring component and tactics and strategies and intentions that aren't always what self-led leaders do, because usually there's not an intention to a result, but it's indirectly inspiring results without them noticing. And with all that comes awareness, of course. So again, in summary, self-led leaders demonstrate leadership qualities on that personal level, but they're focusing on their own development, while leaders involve guiding and inspiring groups of individuals towards a common goal. And both concepts are extremely valuable in different contexts and contribute to the personal, this is the best part here, the personal and collective growth of all. One's directly leading and influencing, inspiring and motivating, and one is indirectly when you think about us all. So I'll leave you with that here today. Would love your feedback and comments. As always, if you go to Jacqueline Mack, there's some great information there. If you're on Instagram, there's even more information in my link on my Stan Store of opportunities, things about word swapping and journal prompting and the AAA method, depending on what's available when. I'm in the middle of the Rise Up doors open for the fall cohort. So if that's something you're interested in, feel free to jump in there, message me if you have questions, fill out the application. I do have an application process for this because It's a small group of 11, a couple one-on-one spots, and a small group of 5 to 7. So I look forward to working with you all, seeing you all here soon. Where I see you until next time.